Hang down your head, Tom Dooley, hang down your head and cry. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley, poor boy, you're bound to die. How many times you heard that song? Sung over and over again. Just about the time that old dog is ready to rest, some fresh-faced trio comes along and brings it back to life. Changes the course of musical history. Problem is, they got it all wrong. Tom Dooley never killed nobody. And I should know. Oh, but I get ahead of myself. Let me introduce myself. My name is Annie Foster Milton, and I was Tom Dooley's one true love. Oh, we was raised there in Wilkes Mountain in North Carolina. Oh, Tommy, he grew tall. He had chestnut hair that kind of curled around the nape of his neck. Dark blue eyes like the midnight sky. Now, I was quite a look at myself back then. Prettiest girl in Wilkes County, they would say. And of course, everybody just figured that when Tommy and I came of age, we was going to get married. Now, Tommy, he was a couple years younger than me. And of course, I had to wait for him to get to that age. And just about the time he was ready to get married, that war broke out. That war of northern aggression, coming in, taking our land, taking our homes, our way of life, while all our boys, they signed up for the rebel cause, including Tom's two older brothers. Then one day Tommy come up to me and he said, Annie, I've signed up for the army. I said, Tommy, you ain't no killer. And he said, oh, Annie, don't you worry about it. I'm a musician. And I'm going to lead our boys into victory. Now, Annie, you'll wait for me, won't you? And I liked that I would. Now, we just figured when our boys went to war, it would be maybe a couple weeks or months. But it wasn't weeks or months. It was years. And all that time, I never heard from Tommy. And it was around that time that my mama, she started getting after me. She started saying things to me like, girl, you better get yourself married. You're no spring chicken these days. I said, Mama, what are you talking about? I'm talking about marrying James Milton. That's what I'm talking about. James Milton? James Milton is an old man. Why, he's 35 years old. But he did have land. And he did have a big house. So I settled and I married James Milton. But it was a marriage in name only. And then one day we got word that the Dooley boys were killed in the Battle of Petersburg. Oh, my world just shattered into 1,000 pieces. And just about the time I was gathering up those pieces, who comes marching home but Tommy Dooley? I ran out and I held him in my arms and I said, Tommy, we thought you were killed. And he said, no, Annie. My two older brothers, they were killed. But I was put in prison, and those Yankees, they wouldn't even shoot at me because I was just playing the drum. And now I'm here, Annie. Of course, then I had to tell him that, well, I got married. But I said, it don't make no mind. We'll just start off right where we left off. And he liked that we would. But you know, after that, things was different. I couldn't quite figure it out. Oh, I had been hearing rumors that Tommy had an eye for other women. Of course, I didn't believe that. But then I heard another rumor. I heard that Tommy was playing music down in the barn on Saturday night, playing the fiddle, playing the banjo. Why, everybody knows that there was two instruments of the devil. It was the fiddle and the banjo. Well, I just figured I was going to have to go and find out for myself. So Saturday night, I went down to the barn and I hid in the shadows. And I saw my Tommy take the stage. He put that fiddle under his chin and he began to play. And I swear to you, I could see flames. I could see flames coming out from that bow. And I felt that music. I felt that music when I looked over and Tommy was making eyes at one of the women in the front row. What? It was my own cousin, Lori Foster. Why, I started putting two to two together. Everybody's killed in the war, and Tommy comes home a war hero. Women are making eyes at him, falling all over him. Tommy's playing devil's music. I know what he done up north. He made a pact with the devil. That's what he did. And he wanted fame. Well, what was good for the gander was good for the goose. So I left and I went up to Devil's Pond. I stood out there with the darkness under me and I said, if you can hear me out there, you listen and you listen good. Because I want Tom Dooley to profess his undying love for me. And I don't care what you want. You can take anything, including my soul. And there was wind. The wind that whipped around my skirts and I heard a voice. And that voice was whispering in my ear. And I knew. Oh, yes. I knew what I had to do. So I came down out of that mountain and it was dark. But I made my way toward my home when I could see the light was on in Lori's house. So I just went in the front door and I saw Lori standing there packing some things away. I said all innocent like, Lori, what you doing? Well, I'm packing if it's any of your business. Tom Dooley and I are going to get married tonight. Now, I held my temper. And I said, now, Lori, I don't think that would be such a good idea. And she said, I didn't think you would. You old Betty, stuck up there on top of that hill with that old man. Now you want your cake and eat it too. Well, let me tell you something. When Tommy and I are married, he ain't going to talk to you never again. I could feel the tears burning in my eyes. And I looked over and I saw it. It was a butcher knife just sitting there. And I said, Lori, I need to tell you something here. You see, Tommy, he's in league with the devil. And you know what she did? She laughed. She laughed at me. And the next thing I know, I could feel that cold steel in my hand. And she kept laughing and laughing, and then she wasn't laughing no more. She was just lying there with those blue eyes looking up at me, but not seeing a thing. Just then the back door opened. I dropped the knife, and it was Tommy. Tommy came in and he held me in his arms and he said, oh, Annie, Annie, what have you done? Now, you know, you've always been my one true love. Now, Annie, I want you to take care of this body and I'm going to go out and I'm going to get us a wagon. I'll be right back. So I took Lori's body and I wrapped her up in a rug. Just about that time, Tommy come back with a wagon and I helped him load Lori up onto the back of that wagon. We took that wagon down the road a piece and Tommy hopped out, got a shovel, and he dug a nice grave for Lori. We took dirt and a little bit of leaves and twigs. Nobody'd find her out there in the middle of nowhere. Or so we thought. Then he took me in his arms and he said, "Now, Annie, I don't want you saying nothing. Don't you say nothing to nobody. Because pretty soon people are going to talk. And I might have to go away for a while. Now, you won't say anything." And I liked that I wouldn't. Well, Tommy was right. Because people suspected Tommy. They knew that he and Lori were supposed to get off and get married, and, well, they just figured he must have done it. So Tommy left and went on into Tennessee. And that's when the Sheriff Grayson, he started going after Tommy. He started asking people all kinds of questions, even asking me what happened that night. I said, I didn't know nothing. And then he asked this farmer down the road. And that farmer said, "Now, Sheriff, you know, it was mighty peculiar. Because I do remember that night now. You see, my dogs were barking out back, and I looked out the window and I could see this shadowy figure, a big, tall man it was. Well, maybe that was that Tommy Dooley you're talking about. And he went into my barn, and I saw him leave with my wagon. I went out to the barn, and I could see that my shovel was missing too. I figured I'd better follow that fella and see what he was up to. So I walked down the road a piece, and he stopped that wagon. Some woman come out of the house with a big bag, and he helped her put it up there on that wagon. Well, I figured I'd better find out what's going on here. And he went down the road a little bit more, and then they stopped again. Now, I was afraid. I was afraid they might see me, so I just slipped away in the shadows and went back home. Now, the next morning when I woke up, why, there was my wagon, and there was my shovel right where I'd left it. Huh, I just figured I must have dreamt the whole thing. But just maybe that's that Tom Dooley you were talking about. Well, after that, of course, they put a warrant out for his arrest, and they went across to Tennessee and they brought Tommy back. They put him up on trial. They arrested me too and put us in separate jails. Couldn't even talk to one another. Now, I hear tell from other people that they were at the trial that Tommy told everybody that he never killed Lori Foster and that I had nothing to do with it. And even though he had the best lawyer, they found Tommy guilty. And he was to be hanged on May 8th, 1865. Well, my Tommy, he was brought up to the gallows all right. And they say there was 3,000 people there. Can you imagine that? 3,000 people just to see my Tommy hanged. And he stood there for a full hour and he told people about being in the army and playing music. But he said again that he never killed Lori Foster. And then he was hanged. His sister Eliza was there, and they cut him down, and he fell right into that casket. Now, like I said, I wasn't there. But I heard from other people that as she took that coffin up the road, they saw Tommy sitting on top of that coffin with that fiddle under his arm, singing that song. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley, hang down your head and cry. You killed Lori Foster, poor boy, you're bound to die. But Tommy Dooley never killed nobody. And they had to let me go, of course, because they didn't have any evidence against me. But I had a long time to think about this. And I think I had it wrong. I don't think Tommy asked for fame. No, he asked for infamy. Because that song, it just keeps on going on and on. And they got it wrong. He never killed Lori Foster. I killed Lori Foster. They Metropolitan.